Hello everyone, Rembro here. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys a ARMS tutorial. Um, I'm going to go pretty much by spec, glyphs, reforging, gemming, all that good jazz, and kind of give you guys a rundown on my rotation. Um, we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. Okay, so open up our character panel and our talents. Alright, first things first, we'll start with the talents. The way I have my talents set up is the way I would prefer if you're starting out as ARMS. Those of you that aren't aware of this or don't really know the warrior class, Slam was good as a patch 4.1, but when we actually had our base weapon damage, well not base weapon damage, but our weapon damage nerfed from 20% down to 10%, the two-handed specialization, Slam is no longer the route to go, because Slam depends on your base damage, and if your base damage is low, like 10% is, then obviously it's not going to hit as hard. I'm not saying you can't go Slam spec, but I don't highly recommend it. You can probably get away with it, but this is the way I would prefer anyways. So, for starters, I put 3 out of 3 in the War Academy because it increases the damage of your Mortal Strike. I put 2 points in the field dressing, that way it's easier to throw or my healer to heal me, and I put 1 point into Blitz. When I'm doing 3s, you don't necessarily need all 3 of them to be stunned. It's just nice to have the target next to them stunned as well. So you don't need 2 points into that. Obviously you're going to pick up Second Wind, moving on, Deep Wounds, 3 out of 3, and Impale to increase your critical strike damage of your Mortal Strike and your Overpower. Sweeping Strikes is completely optional. I like Sweeping Strikes. We'll get into that in a few minutes. Obviously 3 points in the Taste for Blood, and 2 points in the Impale, and obviously improved Hamstring. Those 3 are really important. Like I said, we'll come back to Sweeping Strikes. Deadly Calm, important, obviously. Obviously I'm not getting Slam, so you don't even need Improved Slam. Moving on, Blood Frenzy is also important, as well as Juggernaut. Lambs of the Slaughter, definitely important. Your Wrecking Crew important, as well as Throwdown is important. I put 2 points in the Sudden Death, and obviously Blaze Storm, which is really important. Moving on to the Fury Tree. Blood Craze is very nice to have. It goes great with Second Wind. A lot of extra healing, self-healing. That's important as a warrior. Cruelty, obviously your increase your critical strike chance of your Mortal Strike. Piercing Howl is a must. I absolutely love it. I don't recommend that you ever talent without getting Piercing Howl. And then obviously moving on into the Prod Tree, 3 points into Insight. Going back to Sweeping Strikes, you don't necessarily have to get Sweeping Strikes. I get Sweeping Strikes to maximize my Blade Storm, my Wreck Blade Storm obviously, when I do. You can always take 1 point out of Sweeping Strikes and put 1 into Rude Interruption, which is nice as well. With that being said, we're moving on to Glyphs. If you are Slam spec, this is the Glyph set that you want to get. You're going to get Glyph of Overpower, Glyph of Mortal Strike, and Glyph of Slam. But because I'm not Slam spec, I pick up Blade Storm just so that my it's on cooldown. I mean, it's off of cooldown quicker. If you pick up Sweeping Strikes, you must have the Sweeping Strikes Glyph. It's free. It costs no rage. You pop it whenever you want. It's really nice for bursting down multiple targets without even using your Blade Storm. I have Rapid Charge, Glyph of Rapid Charge, increases the cooldown of my charge ability by 1 second, and I also have Glyph of Long Charge, so I get that extra 5 yards to kind of get the jump on another warrior in case he doesn't have it. Moving on, Glyph of Command and Glyph of Battle, as well as Glyph of Berserker Rage. I like Glyph of Berserker Rage just because when I pop Berserker Rage, it's going to give me Rage, 5 Rage, whether it be or not. 5 Rage is more rage than I had before. What you could do is, I like this one, I usually run 2s. I spec into Gag Order, and I end up picking up the Heroic Throw and the Colossus Smash. That way I can go ahead and Heroic Throw puts up my first Sunder stack, because that's what the Glyph from Heroic Throw does. It applies 1 Sunder stack, and then every time you Colossus Smash, it puts up another stack of Sunder. So the nice thing about this is you're hitting 2 abilities for the price of 1. So you're actually helping yourself in the long run, because you're not having to use your global cooldown on hitting Sunder armor. Piercing Howl is nice as well. I would recommend that probably for RBGs. I don't like it too much. You can also go with Glyph with the Shield Wall. Increases, you take additional 20%. I usually have that for Prot. You can also go with Glyph with Victory Rush. That's really nice too as well. But I prefer the setup that I have right here. Moving on, we're going to go to the gear. This is the way I look at it. You don't necessarily need to be expertise capped. 26 is the expertise capped. You can see here. Obviously you need to be hit capped. I'm a little bit over the hit cap, nothing I can do about that. Crit is nice too. You want to try and keep your crit up as much as possible, because mainly most of the stuff that you're going to be reforging out of is mastery and crit. So moving on, for your meta, you are going to get 54 strength, 3% increased damage. You're going to get a 40 strength gem. You're going to reforge your mastery into expertise. Also as well, you want to make sure that you pick up the honor gear, the honor enchant for the helm. I picked up the hit neck just to help out with hits, so that's one less thing I have to worry about reforging. Shoulders, I picked up the honor enchant, 50 strength, 25 resilience, as well as I put a 20 strength, 20 resil in there just to match the socket. Moving on, I picked up the mastery cloak, which is for Prot, but it's not that big of a deal. If you picked up the haste, I don't recommend that you pick up the haste, because haste is unuseful stat for warriors. I did 65 crit to my cloak, and I reforged mastery to expertise. Moving on to the chest, I did a 40 resil enchant to my chest. I reforged the crit to expertise. I put a 40 strength gem in the red socket, and in the yellow socket I put a 20 strength, 20 resil to match the socket bonus so that I can get more resilience. Moving on, my wrists. Obviously the wrists don't have a socket, but like I said before, I'm a blacksmith, so I get the extra socket. I did 50 strength to my wrists, and I did put in my Chimera's eye, the 67 strength gem in there. Your weapon should be landside, whether it's tier 1 or tier 2. Oops, sorry, I just dropped my phone. I don't reforge that. Moving on to my throwing weapon, I reforge crit to hit. Moving on to my gloves, I do the 50 strength enchant to my gloves. I leave the hit there because you'll need it. Don't reforge your gloves. Because I'm a blacksmith, I'm going to get that extra socket bonus in the gloves, so I put 20 strength, 20 hit gem to match the socket, and I put my Chimera's eye inside the extra socket. Same thing with this, I reforge crit to expertise. To fill that blue socket for the belt, I do a 20 strength, 20 hit, and for the extra socket from the belt buckle, I put my Chimera's eye in there. Moving on, I grabbed the 190 attack power and 55 crit enchant from the auction house, and I reforged haste to expertise. I put for the red socket, I put a 40 strength gem, and for the blue, I put a 20 strength, 20 hit. Moving on, because these are my boots for Prot, I left the 30 stam minor speed increase enchant on there, and because I'm expertise capped, I'm hit capped, I no longer need to reforge anything. So just to make the socket bonus and get an additional plus 10 resilience, I did 20 strength, 20 resil gem. It's orange, match the yellow socket. You don't reforge your ring, you leave the hit, and you don't reforge your other ring either, you leave the crit. Obviously that's the last of the last that you could possibly reforge for your character. Let's move on and let's go ahead and check out my opening rotation. Okay, so moving on to my rotation. What I like to do as an opener is I like to battle shout. That way I get generated 20 rage, and then I open up with the charge. Oh, somebody call that Skype, Nurk. And then what you want to do is you want to open up with a rend and then a mortal strike. You want to Colossus Smash, then mortal strike, and that way you can just continue to use your overpower procs and pretty much just follow it on in. You want to keep your mortal strike on cooldown at all times. Make sure that you're keeping Colossus Smash on cooldown as well, and your rage dumper is going to be heroic strike. So when you have an excessive amount of rage, you would heroic strike. Hope this video helped you guys. You guys take care, and I'll see you later.